everybody. It's Roger with Kinsta. Thanks for joining us. Today I'm joined by my good friend Austin from Anchor Hosting. Hey, Austin, how's it going?
It's going good, and always good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I kind of want to get jumping right in here. Today's session is Anchor Hosting and Kinsta, a reseller's tale of success. So we're setting the bar high right at the start here. But and for everybody joining us on LinkedIn, hey, how are you? I'm doing my best to keep an eye on my guest Austin and on the chat screen in LinkedIn. So bear with me if I miss your questions at first. But I'm really excited to have Austin as a guest because Austin has done just an amazing job of reselling Kinsta's product and really incorporating all of Kinsta's product into his vision and his tools for his customers. And, before I, get too far into it, Austin, can you give us kind of some background of what got you into web hosting and working with WordPress sites to begin with?
It's a great question. So I've been running Anchor Hosting for the last 10 years, and it's primarily just been me. How I got into hosting sort of before that, just before I was doing web hosting, I was building websites for customers, family and friends, word of mouth, whoever. And the one thing I did was whenever I would build a custom WordPress site, I would require them to host through me. So that's kind of actually what bootstrapped my initial business. And, at the beginning, it was just very simple. My thought process was, you have web hosting, which is a very technical product, and then you have customers. And how best to bridge the gap is to put a web developer in front of the hosting platform. So I got started reselling hosting, I guess, kind of by accident. I was just managing websites for my customers on their behalf, and it was not very elaborate. It was just there was no hosting panel. There was nothing, no APIs at the beginning.
Sure. Okay. All right. So as you're kind of getting the business going here, what were some of the key factors in considering Kinsta as the host to start working with for managing all of these customer sites?
So one of the benefits of reselling hosting is you can be hosting agnostic, which means you can pick whatever provider you think will work best for your customers. I've never been tied into one provider. I think some of it is driven by just the distaste I've gotten in the past by using other reseller tools and other platforms. Like I've stayed away from cPanel, Plesk, WHM, and other reseller panels because, to be honest, they're just overcomplicated. And I've kind of built my own thing over the years. So why I chose Kinsta was just simply, at the time I felt they were the best provider. And one of the things that attracted me to Kinsta specifically was their container technology, which I feel like is still somewhat a unique thing in the space, which is surprising because I've been with Kinsta 7 years and I haven't seen too many other providers have the container technology down as well as Kinsta does. Previously I was dealing with, one site would get blown up and it would take out a whole pod, the underlying pod, and it would affect hundreds of other customers. Well, when I moved to Kinsta, all that went away. Just the way that they isolate resources per each site.
Sure, excellent. And that's the engineering team is going to love to hear your feedback there. Backing up a second, when you talk about a site blowing up, for a lot of people that are, maybe not in the industry, they might think, oh, geez, what happened? Like, was there malware or an attack? And, when you're saying a site blows up, what are some of the circumstances that contribute to that?
I know so that's going to depend on who you're using for web hosting. Some web hosts do security better than others. The outages I was experienced was not security related, but it was traffic related. So one site would get a huge burst of traffic, Some of it was real traffic. Sometimes it was bot traffic. It was artificial traffic. Okay. And when that happens, the underlying server has a certain threshold. It can handle so much, and then it just starts giving error messages because it's like overcapacity. So in those situations, it was always that with the previous provider, I would have to talk with the sales engineer. We would have to allocate new servers. We would have to move sites to other servers. It was a mess. So that was the scenario I was dealing with fairly frequently enough for me to look at other web hosts.
Okay. No, that makes total sense. And I was kind of leading you towards, it's a traffic issue. Let's say, a site gets featured on Shark Tank or something.
Yep.
And, in a shared server situation, noisy neighbor causes a problem, whereas with an isolated container, we're keeping that from happening. For the audience at home, let's see here, we've got a few people who have checked in. Nobody's asked any questions yet, but I'd be interested to know how many people are currently reselling hosting, and which platforms they're using and any challenges they're seeing. So, if you've got those questions, feel free to jump them in there. But in the meantime, we can kind of move forward a little bit, and we're leading into the next section we wanted to talk about more, which is managing scale and efficiency with Kinsta's API in this case. And so can you explain how using Kinsta's API helps you manage the thousands of websites under your control?
Sure. I'll just highlight two features and I can talk about them. One is being able to create site creation, and the other is being able to do PHP upgrades. Okay. So with site creations, that's huge because I started interacting with the API to build a tool for myself, not necessarily my customers. Eventually, everything that I built for myself is going to be accessible to my own customers, which is pretty cool. But what I've been doing for this has been the last few years, I don't create sites by going into Kinsta's panel. I create them from my management tools, and then everything is just automatically provisioned, meaning I just create the site once, and the site monitor is already configured. The secondary backups are already up and running. The update system that I built is already implemented. It saves me a huge amount of time. Whereas, most folks that are managing sites for customers are creating a site and then plugging that into some management tool. I don't have to do any of that. Huge time saver. The second thing, PHP upgrades, is something I'm really excited about because before an API, it was painful to do PHP upgrades. PHP upgrades aren't something you run into all that often, but yes, every few years you have to look at the version of PHP, and if it's end of life, just upgrade. And going from 7.4 to 8.0 was painful because PHP is the underlying architecture that runs WordPress, and that can break some things. There could be incompatibilities. So most recently, I wrote a bash script to upgrade a selection of my Kinsta customers from PHP 8.0 to 8.3. Or was it 8.2? I forget which version I was going from until. I was able to upgrade 500 sites to a new version of PHP in under 5 minutes, which is just crazy because that also included a few automated checks. It also had the ability to downgrade. Which is exactly what you want. You want to be able to press a button and the output be the sites that didn't have any issues got upgraded, and here's the list of sites that got downgraded. So I don't know how long it's going to be until we hit PHP version 9. I'm hoping many years out. But if we get into the scenario where PHP 9 comes out and I have to do a bulk upgrade, having the API is going to be essential for me being able to automate that. Automate upgrades and downgrades.
Excellent. That's some pretty amazing numbers there. 500 sites in 5 minutes. And I know that jump from 7.4 to 8 was definitely painful for a lot of users. I'm glad to hear it sounds like you've kind of weathered through the storm pretty well with that.
Yeah, I wrote a blog post if anyone's interested about going from 7.4 to 8.0. It was a painful process to go through with all the manual updates, but Once you do it once, you'll learn all the gotchas. It is doable. There is no site that is running PHP 7.4 that can upgrade to 8 with a few code fixes. So find a developer and get them on board.
Okay. Were there anything that like sticks out in specific that you saw problems of jumping from 7.4 to 8.0 that maybe people could quickly identify?
With AI tools right now,
Okay.
oftentimes if you just look at the server log and see what the PHP fatal error is, copy that in, and then give ChatGPT some context. Here's the line of code. It can tell you the generated solution, because most of the problems with PHP 7 to PHP 8 are just a few lines of syntax that have to be switched over.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Are there any features besides the create site and the PHP update that really help streamline your workflow outside of those two?
Right now, those are the main ones I'm leveraging. A lot of the automation is due to the fact that Kinsta has SSH, which is like one of my criteria. In looking at web host, does the web host have SSH? Great, I can do a bunch of automation. Does the web host have API access? Great, I can do a lot more automation. There are, I am leveraging site cloning, which is something new that I'm doing from my panel. So like when I spit up a new site, I can select one of the Kinsta sites and clone that over, which saves me some time. There's actually a lot more I could be doing that I'm not currently doing, and I feel like I'm a power user.
Okay. Very cool. That's always good to hear that there's more room to expand and grow. You're just so darn busy already. So that's always great. How about, moving into kind of the next section. So, now that you've got sites set up, obviously, it's technology, right? Nothing's always perfect and problems do arise. And sometimes you need to contact support and get help with that. What are some challenges you've faced as a reseller? And how has Kinsta support maybe helped you in some situations where you've overcome that?
So I'm primarily working with agencies and web professionals, like individuals that are building WordPress sites, and help them with their management maintenance needs. A lot of times when it comes down to support, it's kind of a joint effort thing. So I take responsibility for all my customers, but also, especially some of the larger agencies like to have direct access. So one of the nice things about Kinsta is you can actually invite a selection of sites from a larger account for just that agency. So some of the more technical folks can actually access Kinsta through the shared access, and they can talk to the Kinsta support team. The Kinsta support has been top notch. It's been amazing over the years. I like to rate support systems of web hosts by when I reach out to a support system, is the web host more knowledgeable than me, or at least are we on the same page? And like with most other hosts, I get the feeling of, okay, I probably know more than this the person I'm talking to, but with Kinsta, I feel like we're on equal playing field.
That's great to know. The support, again, more kudos for the support team. They're going to appreciate hearing that, and I know that they enjoy working with you as well. Is there ever a specific example where you were having an issue where Kinsta support was able to come maybe to the rescue, or at least kind of maybe point you in the right direction with something?
Yeah, there's lots of examples of that. I'm trying to think of a few stories off the top of my head. Some of it has been with the Kinsta APM has actually been really helpful. Which is something different. Oh, I know one thing the support team has been really good about is, so one thing I do with all of I don't host sites that I don't manage, meaning like when I bring on a new customer, they receive WordPress updates on a weekly basis. So that's a good baseline to keep the site secure, make sure they're not getting hacked. Well, if I'm ever dealing with this, it's common for me to move a site that has been malware infected, and I'm doing the cleanup process with the onboarding. So Kinsta support has been really good about, if I miss something, they'll scan the site and they'll tell me, and they help me clean up the site and then just get it looking good. So, and even in situations where I brought on a site and didn't fully catch everything, and in a rare case where it gets reinfected, working with the Kinsta support to figure out where the reinfection came from, we've been able to do some pretty clever things like digging through logs and whatnot, which has been super helpful.
Excellent. Yeah, no, the migration or the malware team is amazing, and constantly scanning and constantly updating our built-in scanner. One thing to keep in mind that I don't know if you're aware of, anytime you use our migration team to move a site, they automatically do a malware scan for you. So it's something to keep in mind there.
Yep, for sure.
Backing up a second, though, you mentioned our APM tool, and for anybody not familiar, that's application performance monitoring. I'd love to hear some more of your thoughts about using that tool, and kind of if you've got any specific examples where it was able to help you diagnose an issue.
Yeah, I was beginning to talk about that. So the Kinsta APM is, I think, one of the most underrated features of Kinsta, because for a couple of reasons. I haven't seen any other managed WordPress host out there have something similar. Normally, what the best alternative they'll do is that they might have like a new relics hook, so you can do extra performance monitoring on your own. So with the application performance monitor, on a per site basis, you can turn it on or turn it off and gather extra information. And it has uncovered, it's amazing what it can uncover. So it can uncover external calls that are like timing out and causing the site not to load right. It can uncover blocks of code that are just not performing right, or maybe slow database queries. Just this last week, I was having an issue with a customer. They were trying to edit their homepage with Elementor plugin, and they were having trouble getting it to save, and they were wondering why. Well, I fired up Kinsta APM, gathered some stats, and saw that there was a slow query. I plugged that into the command lines, like, what is this query? Oh, it's something to do with page revision. So I checked, and the homepage had like close to 300 page revisions that it was going through. So I ran another WP select command to purge all the page revisions and kept the last 5, and then everything was fixed. All that stuff is like completely invisible and hidden unless you have a tool like APM to be able to scan for any bottleneck code.
Sure. Fantastic. That's great. Again, our APM team is going to love hearing that feedback as well. They're pretty proud of it.
And it's one of those things. It's like when I look at other providers, a lot of them will match Kinsta on many different levels, but they don't have anything in the application performance monitor space. So it's one of the unique things I feel that Kinsta has to offer.
Excellent. And again, also for those watching at home, is with the APM tool, it's definitely for the slightly more advanced user. So if you don't feel technically inclined, this is definitely a good place to bring your developer in and have them kind of look at the results of that. Let's see here. So, moving forward, we're already talking again about performance and security. So we're flowing very well here with the outline we kind of had. You've touched already on there's the malware team, and that helps in terms of identifying issues with the site and cleaning them up. On a security perspective, on a prevention aspect, what are some of the aspects of Kinsta's service that you really appreciate having?
I mean, a lot of it is invisible from the outside, which is also good. But I know for sure Kinsta's server level blocks is protecting my customer sites. There's also the vulnerability notices that Kinsta provides are helpful. Although I've kind of hacked that system a bit. When I get to vulnerability notices from Kinsta, I can actually just run like a one-line command to check all my sites to make sure those plugins are addressed quicker than others if it falls outside my maintenance window. I'm generally updating all my plugins on a weekly basis on a time frame when I'm around. I like scheduled updates. I don't like automatic updates. So this what Kinsta is doing from a security side, scanning the sites, making sure everything is kept up to date is all helpful.
Sure. Does the Cloudflare aspect of things help at all with DDoS protection and the CDN that's provided there?
I mean, I'm definitely activating it across all my customer sites. I mean, it's when things are good, it's hard to tell what is good, why things are good.
Sure. No, and as you said, it's all stuff that's running in the background, right? And I think this is also one of the difficult things about hosting, right? Is when it's running well, everything's working, and so it's hard to kind of point at, hey, what's working good. So
I really like the one-click CDN features, image optimization. So anytime the web host can eliminate the need for a WordPress plugin, it's good. So like my default is to run a site pretty lightweight. Like you don't really need to install a bunch of security plugins or caching plugins. All that's baked into the host provider, and it should be. You shouldn't have to be going through all these toggles and switches. And image optimization is one of those things. For the majority of my sites, like just activating the Kinsta CDN image optimization is good enough, and it's invisible to the customer and keeps the site lightweight. Like there's not all this weird processing when the customer is uploading an image to their WordPress site. It's just being delivered, optimized by the CDN, which is great.
No, absolutely. And kind of touching on your point there in regards to having the host handle a lot of these processes, it eliminates you needing to install as many plugins. And I think what a lot of times people overlook is, hey, every time you have a plugin running on your WordPress site, you're utilizing PHP cycles and processing power that it just adds up and eventually will cause your site to slow down. And so that's definitely one of our goals, right, is to just make it as simple and straightforward as possible so you can just run WordPress lightweight. Let's see here. I just want to check in again with our LinkedIn people. No questions there yet, but people feel free to chime in. When you start talking about your business, right, and growing your clients, how do you go about reselling your business? And, what are some of the tactics that you're utilizing to grow that for people who might aspire to be a reseller themselves?
I'll break that into maybe the messaging I use, but also the underlying strategy is, I'm just word of mouth is the primary source, and also, my recommendation is just give back, give everything away, run business with an open hand, help others that are getting into your space. And that can look different for a lot of folks. So for me, I blog on anchor.host, very technical post. It's not necessary for my customers, but it's for the types of people that are going to bring customers to Anchor hosting services. It's the designers, developers, the web professionals. And I'm just sharing anything I've learned, anything I think might be useful or helpful to other folks. On the code aspect, I share everything I've built. So from a website management tooling, that's all code that is out there on GitHub. It's open source. And the principle behind that is I want my customers to be attracted to me. I don't want to go after them. So I just to share an example of that, I've had customers reach out to me they've read my blog and they've connected the dots. They're like, oh, you're using Kinsta for your business. So they asked me, can you spin up a bunch of sites in Australia or Japan, because I know Kinsta has data centers there. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's chat. So they were attracted to my business because of just the level of openness that I have about my business. But then in terms of messaging, like when I'm talking with agencies, it all comes down to the same reason web agencies offer hosting services for their customers is the exact same reason that I'm in business for myself. It's like a web agency does hosting because they feel like they have to. Because if a customer takes the website and does either hosting themselves or has someone else do it, the site's it's going to get neglected. It might get hacked. And then the web agency has to come in and fix things. So they offer hosting as a proactive solution because they know if they're at least maintaining a site, it's probably not going to have as many issues over the long haul. Anyway, I do the same thing in my pitches. I'm a developer. I can free up your developers to actually build websites. And I'm doing the same thing your developers are doing, just at a larger scale. So I'm doing it a lot more efficiently. So what you might be doing with 20, 50, 100, or 200 websites, I'm doing with thousands of websites. And at the end of the day, all of the coding is like, it's when you solve problems once, it doesn't matter how many sites you're deploying to. Like, there is no limit. So like the solution that you spent your half day working on to fix your 5 sites is the same solution that I'm going to apply for all of my sites.
That makes total sense. It's the same pitch we give, right? Is, hey, we're watching this stuff all the time. This is, all that we're focused on, and we really want you to focus on working on WordPress. And I feel like with your service, you're doing, you're adding another layer right on top of what Kinsta's already offering. Do you want to kind of go into what that means? Because I know that you're plugging into a lot of different APIs and services. What can you kind of paint a picture of what all that looks like?
Yeah. So just to back up a second, I resell web hosting so that I can solve the maintenance side of WordPress. So that's like, if I was an actual web host, I would not be doing near the level of things that I can do today. Like leveraging a WordPress host and reselling on top of it allows me to stay focused on just like WordPress maintenance issues. So my control panel has evolved over the years, and it kind of hooks into a lot of external systems. So yes, I am using Kinsta's API to do some things, but also I'm using the API to talk to Fathom Analytics. So when I'm creating a site on my end, I'm also spinning up a Fathom Analytics profile, and that gets hooked in to my system. My customers can see it from their dashboard. I use it to kind of keep track of billing purposes and also just visibility for what's happening on people's sites.
Sure.
It's just one less thing that has to be set up or installed and configured. I'm also using Mailgun's API. Kinsta has a transactional email service built in, but for my customers, I like to control it a little bit better. So I have like APIs that when I'm adding sites, it will connect a Mailgun profile to that and kind of send out through there. And then there's a way you can see from the logs what's happening.
Okay. Backing up for a second, you mentioned Fathom there. And I did a webinar earlier, I think just last month actually, with Donata from Termageddon, and she brought up Fathom Analytics. Can you go into a little bit more detail about what Fathom is and why people should be considering that over, let's say, Google Analytics?
So I've been using Fathom Analytics for a while. I was a power user for a while, I self-hosted my own Fathom Analytics instance for Anchor hosting customers. And then eventually I did switch over to their paid services. The looking back, it was quite fortunate that I switched over to them, because when Google Analytics switched to their version 4, they lost historical data, or they didn't carry historical data through. So a lot of customers were reaching out to me, hey, what do I do? Do I set this thing up? I'm like, well, you can set it up, but honestly, just look at what I've collected over the years. And I sent them a link to their Fathom Analytics, and they're like, oh, this is good enough. I don't need Google Analytics when it's already baked into Anchor hosting. Fathom Analytics is a fantastic alternative to Google Analytics. It's simple, easy to use, and it's, whereas Google seems to be getting more complex over year end, Fathom Analytics is just a breeze.
Well, and also on top of that, right, isn't there like a big privacy aspect to Fathom, because
Yep.
they're not tracking the IP addresses, or I don't know the technical details.
Yeah, so they adhere to the highest criteria, which is like the European GDPR rules, which most companies don't operate to that level, because they're like, well, they're too difficult to do. But no, they do. They go the extra mile to make sure that they are anonymizing things on their end. They're not keeping server logs beyond what they have to just to produce the analytics. They're a privacy focused alternative to Google.
Excellent. So, besides these tools, I know that maybe there's a new kind of announcement you've got. Do you want to elaborate that on this show?
Yeah, I'll share it. So it's still something I am beta testing. So many people that have been following me over the years have seen how I've kind of built my own management tool, and they've been asking, when am I going to release it? And I've never had a good, it never felt right. And I think I've kind of settled on why it never felt right. So Captain Core is this tool that I built that kind of runs Anchor hosting. It's my management toolkit. And I just don't have a desire to run a management tool service, because that doesn't interest me. What interests me is providing solutions to my customers. And part of that is I provide just a managed WordPress experience currently. So what I am testing out right now is the ability for customers to bring their own Kinsta account to Anchor hosting. So that means currently I've only offered one service. I provide hosting. That includes Kinsta and other providers. What I have going now is an actual more of a maintenance style service. So it would be a pay per site per month, bring your own Kinsta account, and then all of Anchor Hosting's services, management services you get. That includes my migration services, my uptime monitor, Fathom Analytics, bundle, you name it. Everything I have to offer gets applied. My dashboard. So
plugin updates, PHP updates.
Yep, code fixes, you name it. Backup, restore. So yeah, I am currently doing this for one individual, and then eventually I plan to offer it for others. And getting back to a management tool, like my whole pitch is on this is, I guess it's kind of something that irks me about management maintenance tools. It's like you still have to run it. Like even an uptime monitor, you still have to configure it, and then you still have to do something. So what I offer is the complete solution. You don't need a managed WP or WP umbrella. You just connect your account, and I am doing the management maintenance side, and I'm operating the tool. So it's the complete end-to-end solution, I think.
Gotcha. So it's a true managed solution.
Yes.
I love it. If people want to learn more about that, what's the best place for them to go to?
It'll be information on the Anchor Hosting blog at some point. So that'd be the best place to follow along.
Okay.
And yeah, or if you're interested in the software code side, you can follow CaptainCore.io. That's where everything I built is put out through there.
Excellent. Kind of wrapping up here. We're 37 minutes in. This has been fantastic. I appreciate your time and insights, Austin. For the people that are maybe considering becoming a hosting reseller, what would be kind of like maybe your suggestions for, if they're considering, working with Kinsta and using our API, what are kind of some of the best steps as far as like starting off their project?
As far as starting off, I think people overcomplicate it too much. Number one, I would stay away from other reselling tools that are like they advertise as their all-in-one solution. Like you don't want to be locked into a single vendor. You should control the thing. But even going back, like you don't need some fancy management panel just to get started. You just need a competent developer to start maintaining sites on behalf of their customers, and you have a reselling business. That's all it is. One or two developers managing a bunch of sites for other people, taking care of their issues. And then you can kind of grow into the more automated approach where you can build up scripts and start working with APIs and then provide an experience to your customers. But you don't have to start there.
Gotcha. Do you think that learning, the command line and WP-CLI and these types of more advanced developer tools is an advantage to invest in?
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't. I guess I would say if you're interested in automation and saving your time, you should probably look at WP-CLI, SSH, and Bash scripting. If that's not something you're interested in, you could find your own niche too. Like there's a way to provide value to customers. I think no matter what your skill set is, if you're technical focused, for sure, you should dig in and go deep.
Okay. As we're wrapping up with 2024, what are the things in 2025 that you're kind of excited for, whether it's WordPress related, hosting related, what have you?
That's a great question. I guess the one thing that really excites me about my business is, if there is no limit or there's nothing that can't be accomplished by just making things especially with WordPress maintenance. Like I would love for WordPress maintenance just to be solved. Like everything I do day in, day out. I mean, that's my dream is how can I codify this into a solution? Like this thing keeps happening. Okay, let's write some code so this doesn't happen. So I would love to replace myself, the one who's managing all these sites, with just like better tools, better code, better processes. So building cool things, building better products, better tools.
Very cool. So, one thing that I've been really jumping on the bandwagon on is as of WordPress 6.6, there's an auto rollback feature.
Yep.
If a plugin update has an error, the catch is you have to use the built-in auto update feature, which doesn't have a scheduling component to it. And it's something I've been trying to talk with developers about is, hey, how does the scheduling actually work? And can it be modified some way? Is that something you've dug into at all? Or do you have any thoughts on?
I don't. I mean, my approach to backup is a little bit different. I kind of take a forensics level examination. So I kind of take a snapshot of the site before, run the updates, take a snapshot after. So I have complete visibility if something goes wrong. I haven't connected all the dots where everything's automatic, where it goes forward and backwards. But I do have full visibility because I'm checking everything in at every level on a Git level layer, which gives me greater visibility over other people. So it catches weird things like, well, when this update happened, this plugin got deactivated, or when this update happened, this plugin got uninstalled. It catches things like that are typically invisible.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a great idea. Hooking into that. Yeah, I would love to have the full thing, like update everything, roll back everything, all automated.
Absolutely.
You're talking my language.
From my brief understanding with how the rollback works, right, is they had to come up with a solution that worked with any host, right? So they couldn't use WP-CLI because not everybody has WP-CLI. Correct. So they went with cron jobs, and from what I understand, they save all of the plugin versions before they update them, whereas before they were destroyed.
Correct.
Then the auto update happens. If there's a failure detected, they will roll back to the prior version for that plugin. And that's all done through cron. And, and to me, what just keeps coming back is the ability to say, hey, I want the auto update to happen at 6 a.m, right? I don't want it to happen at midnight, right? Because if there's a problem, I want to be awake for it. So it feels like maybe that's something to talk with WordPress core about. I don't know. Those processes seem to take forever, but I'm with you. The more we can automate. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like anything can be addressed after the fact through bash scripting or WP-CLI script. So in theory, a clever script could be written to programmatically run the automated stuff that's already built into WordPress on a timetable that your external tool is set to. So in theory, it should just be a script that triggers that. There's automated systems. Then you get the benefits of the automated systems with the benefits of your management tool being able to drive some of that stuff forward.
Absolutely. Very exciting. Austin, that was 45 minutes. I appreciate you, all of the information that you've shared about how you've run your company. The website's anchor.host. Is there anywhere else on the internet that people can connect with you or watch your work and that nature?
I'm on X at Austin Ginder. Yeah, pretty much anywhere else. I'm the only Austin Ginder that shows up in the first page.
Excellent. Well, Austin, thanks again for your time. I look forward to speaking with you again in the future, and have a great day.
Yeah, thank you so much. Later.